Hello, my friends, and welcome to the show. This is Videoland Express. Today, I'm going to be hosting the show alone. Frank couldn't make it today. I think he's doing a lot of, deals, so he couldn't make it today. But he sends his regards, and he hopes they'll see you next time on the next airing, hopefully within 2 weeks. So, from the top of the show, I'd like to thank everyone who's so far been contributing with the show and helping along to the process of moving the show along. Also, I would like to dedicate the show to my father who had recently passed away. We love you, Father, and we hope you're doing well. Right now, I would like to talk about a few things. The 4th of May just passed. The 4th was with us all was it yesterday? Next thing is free comic book days today, this weekend. So if you want, you can head on to your local comic book store and get your comic books on. Also, it's convention season. It's probably a convention anywhere you are at the moment, be it New Jersey, New York. Just check them out. They're all listed. Also, like I was saying, May the 4th just passed. It was the other day. Today is Cinco de Mayo. This is being recorded on the 5th of May, 2018. So from what I'd like to say about Cinco de Mayo and the 4th is, I guess the 4th for Star Wars Day would have been the day you would have been going out to your local store and purchasing all your Star Wars memorabilia. Toys R Us would have been one of my spots where I've usually gone into and pick up some of my Star Wars toys. But, there's not too many Toys R Us around anymore in Manhattan. And, I'm not a big Toys R Us or, toy buyer anymore. So I'm thinking more or less that Star Wars isn't for me. It's for a different generation. Like they say, the lightsaber has been passed on to the new generation. So now let the new generation enjoy their Star Wars. And for the fanboys out there who are ranting on YouTube that, I don't like Star Wars, this Star Wars isn't for me, maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't for you. Maybe it's time for a new generation to take over, for them to enjoy and make it what they would like with it. But for us, it's probably not for us anymore. Like I was telling Frank before a while back that Star Wars or fanboys aren't necessarily appreciated in movies or in movie theaters, because eventually now you'll probably be able to enjoy your movie at the convenience of your home. So now you don't even have to go to the movie theaters anymore. We were talking about that a long time ago. That's one of those things that happen. So sad, but it's time to move on, Like they say, dry the tears, move on. Star Wars is for a new generation, so maybe it's time to stop complaining and enjoy the memories that were when Star Wars was around. Also, up next, I would like to talk about is some of the things that have been going on, or some of the new shows that have been popping up. For example, I've watched Cobra Kai. I watched all 10 episodes on YouTube Red. I would definitely recommend. This show is amazing. I have to say this, like a lot of people are saying that Cobra Kai, the show rebooting, stemmed from, I think it was from How I Met Your Mother, where Barney talked about how Johnny was the real hero of the Karate Kid, and he was the real Karate Kid. And the Daniel-san character was basically the person who came in, butted into Johnny's life and ruined his life. So that's where Cobra Kai comes in 20 years later. And I don't want to do too many spoilers, because I know when you do too many spoilers, people don't enjoy it. And since I'm talking about YouTube, we're going to do the show live. I'm going to do the show live for the next 28 minutes. After that, there's going to be an extra 10 minutes that's going to be for the YouTube show, and then we're going to put it up on YouTube. It might take a month till you see the show back up on YouTube. Remember, this was the 5th of May, like some people say, Cinco de Mayo. I think that was really created by the beer commercials and the people who want to sell beer, but I'm going to leave it alone. From what I'm saying is, YouTube, this show is going to be back up on YouTube probably within a month. This is being filmed now in Cinco de Mayo live, but for YouTube, I'll do an extra 10 minutes of bonus footage. Like everybody loves bonus footage of everything. So this would be for the YouTube fans. So please subscribe, give a likes. The more you like the show, the more it'll continue, and the more it'll help. It'll help us, it'll help other people to continue to create content. Like I said, the more people like something or the more people jump on something, eventually YouTube will grab onto it and make a show out of it. YouTube Red started, or I should say YouTube started working with the concept of Johnny being the hero of the Karate Kid. And they worked from that and made a YouTube Red show, which is thoroughly enjoyable. I think from season 1, they were building up to a season 2, and now I heard that since the popularity really has taken off, that this is something that people remember 20 years ago. They love so much that it's coming back for a second season. So like Ash versus the Evil Dead, which has had 3 seasons on Star. I think now it's not going to continue anymore, but it at least had 3 seasons. It was able to give more time to be a more fully developed show. And that's what I love about the Karate Kid. They gave more time to fully develop the characters, not just 2 hours, wham bam, that's it. But it's great to see those 10 half-hour episodes. Eventually, who knows? We can get 3 seasons. I think with 3 seasons, it's more than enough to describe everything that's going on with the Karate Kid, Johnny, and Daniel's son. My other show that I've been watching on Netflix is the Joel McHale show for Netflix, which is amazing. It comes out every Sunday, a new show every Sunday morning, and he basically rants about the week's events on the shows. It's sort of like Talk Soup. If you remember Talk Soup, he comes out it's a half-hour show. It's fully entertaining, fully funny. It's new, and it's always fresh because he does it like an episode every Sunday. I would recommend it because I think it's thoroughly enjoyable. Some of the episodes that I thoroughly enjoyed is with one of the actors from Superbad, who they call McLovin, that he was an episode where they did a reading of a tweet in which Joe McHale played the teacher. And the tweet went according to the fact that he played the teacher, and he was saying that in life there's 2 things that no one talks about: politics and religion. And that's when McLovin got up and said, and that's why nothing changes. And then the tweet continues where Joe McHale cries, storms out, McLovin gets up, and everybody applauds. But they said this is from one of those tweets that they posted on Twitter, and it became popular on Reddit. Like they said, there's a bunch of tweets that people think are bogus or full of BS, and it become real popular on Reddit. And now, I guess, Joe McHale picks these things up from pop culture and makes fun of it like they used to do on Talk Soup. So these are 2 shows I would highly recommend. Cobra Kai from RedTube. The first 2 episodes are free. I don't get paid from any of these places, YouTube or Netflix, but I enjoy them both. I have subscriptions to Netflix, and I'm going to subscribe to YouTube Red to catch more of the Karate Kid. It's amazing. There's 2 positive things there in case anyone wants to start complaining about movies that didn't go the right way. I say, hey, don't complain. At least, sit back, enjoy. Next, I would like to talk about some of the movies coming out that I think it's going to be thoroughly enjoyable. You have A couple of movies coming out that I'm interested in. There's other movies coming out that maybe I might not be so interested in watching. But these are the let me see, about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 top movies that I'd probably be interested for the summer. First up at bat is Deadpool 2. That's coming out on the 18th of May. If you have a chance, get your tickets now. You can get your tickets now for Deadpool 2 and the next movie I'll talk about. But Deadpool 2, it looks like the budget was increased, because I think the joke around every place was that Deadpool had a budget of between $50 million to $60 million, and it came back and it generated so much more money that the jokes were back and forth about how low the budget was, that they couldn't afford more X-Men characters, that the X-Men characters that they had, they couldn't afford to let them say anything because that would cost them money, so they would have to silence them. There were supposed to be a lot of gunfire scenes, big action explosions, and big, bullets spraying all around. But since they cut back on the budget, they kept making the joke that Deadpool kept losing his guns, so he couldn't do these big action shootout scenes, so it became very low budget, which sometimes it's better. Just work on the story, and I think everything will fall through. You don't have to waste so much money on a big budgeted blockbuster movie, because sometimes those things don't work out. I'm sorry. But the more money you spend, sometimes the less you actually get. It's better to be a novice, enjoy what you like, make it cult, and people will follow this movie for years. But if you spend too much money, no one cares about it. The writing's not good. That's it. No one's gonna care about once a movie leaves the theater. Like they say, it will have no legs. Next movie up, they say, for the summer is Solo, a Star Wars story. That's going to come out on the 25th of May. I think that's going to be amazing, because so much like Star Wars The Last Jedi, they came out with a lot of negative, negative response or negative reviews from the fans. I think the critics loved it, but the fans started hating on it. But I'm not one of those. I either have an opinion about it, but after that, I leave it alone. I don't keep piling on top of it, because sometimes there's no reason to pile on top of it. If you don't like the movie, just that's it, and move on. But Solo, a Star Wars story, they said there have been a lot of complications with the two directors they had. Then they fired the two directors. Then they had to hire Ron Howard to come in and finish up with the film. But since it's going to be out on the 25th, you can get your tickets now. So I'm interested in seeing what happened, what they say, with all the back stage antics or all the fighting that happened in the back scenes with the making of Solo. I'd be surprised to see what happened, what resulted, whether they come out with a half-decent movie. I know a lot of people maybe didn't love Rogue One, but I was one of the people who enjoyed Rogue One. So you have this divide between people who love The Force Awakens more and the people who loved Rogue One more. And I'm on the camp that loved Rogue One more. Most people didn't like it because, this and this didn't happen and I expected this. But sometimes it shouldn't be all about fan service. I know you have to make a movie for people who are the fans now, but then you can't just, keep feeding into that. Sometimes you have to do something new. And that's what they say that they did with The Last Jedi. So that's what happened. So we have to look from that and move on. But Solo, a Star Wars story, I'm really interested to see what happened with, like they say, with all the back fighting and the fighting directors, the cutting out of characters, and after that, see what was the end result. I would be thoroughly surprised and amazed and see what became of it. I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen. Next movie up, that's going to come out on the 6th the 15th of the 6th, that'd be the 15th of June, would be Incredibles 2. From what I'm seeing, everyone has talked about the Incredibles. Incredibles came out back in 2000, I think. 2000, 2001, or 2002. And it was amazing. People have compared it to basically the story of the Fantastic Four, that this is what the Fantastic Four should have been, or could have been. You know, a family of four, and the Fantastic Four, from all the rewrites and the fights and the infighting and the fact that they just wanted to make a movie, just continue to hold the rights. And that's usually the worst reason to have a movie, because when you do it based on money, sometimes it doesn't work out. But The Incredibles was amazing, and now The Incredible 2. And it seems like The Incredible 2 is going to take a page from the Fantastic Four, where they have a fight with the mole people. And I'm like, that's amazing. They're going to have a story ripped right from, not to give too many spoilers, ripped right from the Fantastic Four first comic, or first or second comic, where the Fantastic Four fights the mole people. And this is basically going to be something right from that comic. Next film that I'm going to be interested in is Jurassic World, which is going to come out on the 22nd of June. Jurassic World 1 was amazing, was pretty incredible at the level at which they got the CGI. I know some people complain about certain things that they don't understand, how somebody was able to do certain things in certain situations. For example, how was it that one of the main characters was able to run away from a dinosaur on high heels? But it's a whole thing about suspending belief, I guess. You know, it's a movie experience. It's not sometimes to explain it, because when you try to dive deeply into it and try to explain why it happened, none of this stuff's going to make sense. You know, it'll be like the Fast and Furious. None of this stuff makes sense. It's just something, an experience you're supposed to enjoy. So that's it. Jurassic World on the 22nd. I'm interested in seeing it. I'm not so interested. Like Deadpool would be on my top, the top of the list, and then probably Incredibles, Solo, and just Jurassic World would only be almost my sixth most likely of importance of wanting to see, because after that there's so many other films too. Two other films to see for the summer. The two other films are Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that's on the 6th of July. That definitely looks amazing, because I love movies that have sort of like a scientific angle of it, sort of like that movie back in the day in the 70s where they had a voyage to the center of the earth, where they would shrink and become microscopic and go inside the body of a human being. This is going to be where they start shrinking and growing. So it's going to be at the atomic level, subatomic level. It's going to be amazing. A lot of it's not going to make sense scientifically, but most of these movies don't make sense scientifically. There's a lot of people who argue with the proceedings of all these sci-fi films, where they say they have gravity and you can't make gravity, and it's just something to enjoy. I could see, like, if they shrunk something, it would still have the same weight atomically as if they enlarged it. It's not like they would shrink something and then it would weigh less. No, it would still have the same weight, but we're there to suspend belief and just go along with it. You know, somehow maybe they just shrink something and make the atoms weigh more. So, you know, just go along for the ride and enjoy it. And like they say, don't complain. Enjoy the ride, and everything will work out. The next movie I'm really interested in catching a glimpse at is Venom, which is coming also in the summer. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but these other films, I think you could literally, if you go to your kiosks or to the theater, you could possibly buy tickets for all these right now. As soon as I have a chance, I'm going to go out, buy tickets for all these films, and start enjoying. But Venom, I'm really interested. They are going to do a take, I think, with Venom with Eddie Brock. I'm not sure if it's after the events of Spider-Man or how they do it from Spider-Man, but Venom was basically a character that was created, and from Venom, Spider-Man was sort of a conjuring from an alien that takes over Spider-Man and makes him more powerful, and then he leaves Spider-Man and captures a new host, which is Eddie Brock. So this is the telling of Venom from Eddie Brock's side. So let's see how that works out. I would think it's amazing, and I'm definitely all down to catch this out. All right. The other things I would like to speak about is, I think if we've all seen the movies, we've all been there. A couple of movies since we were out for the winter. Quite a few movies came out in March. It was February and March, which was Black Panther, Ready Player One, and The Avengers. So we'll start with the least important to the most important, or the most. We'll end with the most recent, and start from the ones that we weren't able to talk about. Ready Player One. Everyone who's seen it, I don't want to do too many spoilers because probably there's some people who haven't seen it yet. I've spoken to some people who said, "Oh, I haven't seen it, so please don't spoil it for me." But Ready Player One, I thought it was pretty, incredible at the level of the graphic ability in which they're getting nowadays. That eventually they'll be able to create and generate these virtual worlds, and I'd be one of these people who would be amazed and completely immersed in virtual worlds, because they say the more people get enthralled with gaming, the virtual worlds, the less they go out, and they sort of get themselves entrenched in this virtual reality world, and then who knows, one day we'll all be part of this whole virtual world, sort of like the Matrix, and hopefully we'll know we're in the Matrix and not where they keep commenting on YouTube like, "Oh, how do we know we're not in the Matrix now?" But those are conspiracy theories, and we're not going to even dive into that, because there's so many shows about that. If you want to see a show like that, just go on any of these forums or websites and knock yourself out. The next film I love to talk about is Black Panther. I don't want to do too many spoilers. Maybe there might still be people out there who haven't seen it, but I'd be amazed if you haven't seen that movie yet. It's amazing. I would definitely give a big recommendation. Ready Player One, not so much. You could probably wait till it comes on Netflix or any other streaming service. I wouldn't buy, but I would definitely recommend a watch for Ready Player One. Black Panther, I would definitely, if you can, see it in theaters. I'm not sure if it's still out there, but it can still be out there. I've heard some things where they're saying that, you can still catch it. I thought it was amazing. The graphics, everything fell into place. The story was great. The acting was amazing. It was truly, I don't want to give too many spoilers. I want people to go there, enjoy themselves. And plus, if you give too many spoilers, they say a lot of people get ticked off if you spoil. Because nobody wants to see a review show where you give them so much information. By the time they go to see, there's nothing actually in this movie left for me to even enjoy. So what are you talking about? But I will say that the storyline for Black Panther was well written. It had a viability to it. There was a stream of consciousness that you can follow. It made sense. It wasn't too, the only thing you had to suspend belief was that, I'm not sure if you know the story, but if a meteor collides in the land of where Black Panther is taking place, which is Wakanda, and from that meteor, all of a sudden technology arises, because they have one of the hardest elements in the world. But I'm shocked because, we have one of the hardest elements in the world, which would probably be diamonds, and we haven't done too much with it other than make jewelry and drilling tools out of diamonds. Because if that were the case, we should have made, uniforms out of diamonds. We should have made cars out of diamonds. If it was a lightweight material, we have titanium, which is also lightweight. We really haven't done too much with our technology, and that sort of shocks me a bit. I'm shocked that we have all this ability in the world to do all this stuff with the technology we have nowadays, and a lot of stuff we have in the United States is really obsolete. Like, there's more creation being done outside of the United States, but that's probably something we should talk about some other time. All right, with the few remaining minutes we have left, let's talk about the thing behind me, the elephant in the room, Avengers, Infinity Wars. I'm not sure how many people have seen it, but I've seen it. I thought it was amazing. I would definitely give it a recommend. If you can, see it in theaters. I'm not going to buy on DVD because I'm not one of those. I don't want to be one of those people who start collecting stuff. Right now, if anything, I'm trying to become like some of my friends are becoming Buddhists, in the sense of getting rid of what material possessions you have and not try to collect more stuff than you can and just throw it out. So Avengers is definitely one of those movies you should go, enjoy, see in the theaters. There's some people who've told me two different things, that they've seen it in 3D IMAX, where it's overwhelmed them, it's sort of like that movie Avatar, where they've seen it overwhelmed them in 3D IMAX. They were so overwhelmed, they didn't know what they were following. It was just so much, so overwhelming. They couldn't follow it. They were just amazed by the colors, the imagery, the 3D renderings. But if you can enjoy it that way. If it's just too much, like I did, I don't go to too much 3D IMAX because it's expensive. So I went to regular 2D format for the movie theater, and I still thought it was amazing. It was brilliant. There was a good story being told. It was sort of like watching this guy with so many spinning plates, and I think the movie was almost 3 hours long. And there was so much going on. I was amazed how they were able to wrap everything together and make a cohesive story, make it enjoyable. And Thanos is the big guy in this movie, but I don't want to give too many spoilers, but it wraps well. And they said, okay, I'm going to say goodbye. The rest of the show is going to be for YouTube for the next 10 minutes. I'd like to thank you for showing up and seeing us. For Frank, adios. Now, this part of the show is going to be, hopefully I still get 10 minutes, so the rest of it is going to be for YouTube. We've just said goodbye to being live on the air. I'm not sure if we're still live on the air. If we had a monitor, I'd be able to tell you whether we're live or we're not live, but I don't think we're continuing to be live. But this is going to be for YouTube. So like I said, for YouTube, please like, subscribe, join, make our voices heard, so people know what's going on. There are people who are listening. There are people who agree with us. There are people who see our same vantage point, and they start making movies the way Frank and I, we're sort of like enthusiasts. We're not fanboys, but we're enthusiasts. We get involved. I get involved. Frank, he works on movie sets. He opens his ears. He opens his eyes. He listens. He sees what's going on. He's becoming more, he's an amateur enjoyer of what's going on out there, and so am I. But the more we dive into it, the more, I guess, like they say in wrestling, we've become the smart fans, or the smarks, like the smart marks, like they say in wrestling. I know that some people out there may say, I don't like wrestling. Okay, fine, you don't like it, I'm not going to push it on you. You could always move on. But it's wonderful too. The more you know what's going on, because I used to think like everyone else. These movies, working in a movie theater, manufacturing movies is the best. It's the easiest job. It's not true. There's a lot of hard work to it. These poor actors and people, once they find great people who can act to be these movies, the more you believe it, the more you get revved up in it. The more you're able to say, wow, this is really something I believe, because acting is hard. I used to think it was, it's so easy, but no, it's mentally draining. These poor guys, sometimes they do 12-hour shifts, 13, 15, 18-hour shifts, and they do it for weeks at a time. And anyone doing that can end up going a little bonkers. And I could sometimes understand. I used to say to myself, how is it these guys have everything they want and yet they're not appreciative? Because it's sort of tough. The more you learn about the movie theater, the more you see, the more you learn about movie making, the more you see that these poor actors have to not only act with others, and it's sort of like big time pretending, and they have to pretend to the level they believe what they're doing. And the more you start believing in what you're doing, it could work, it could affect your psyche. It's sort of like you're trying to tell your brain that something that's not there exists. And the more you believe it, then I guess the more you can go a little bonkers. So I would give it up. That's why I would say if you see an actor out there and you appreciate the work he does, and he's somewhere in the city or somewhere you see him, sometimes it's better just to leave them alone, because they work so hard, they want to be left alone. How would you like it if, like they say, how would you like it if you're working your job, someone comes along and says, oh, you're doing a terrible job. I don't like the way you've been writing those performance reports. Your ability of writing is terrible. You probably wouldn't like it. So for them, it's probably the same way. So if you see one of these actors or people who work in Hollywood, leave them alone. If then it's a red carpet event, or it's an event of a theater, movie screening or something, then that's different. They're at work. Then that's part of the interaction back and forth. They're trying to sell you a product. You have to either want to buy it or you don't. But anyway, that's how it is. I would say it's very appreciative. I'm very appreciative of the films that they're giving us, the movies we're seeing. So I'm so appreciative to that point that I don't really want to start saying anything too negative about films in general. If I don't like it, I'll just say, well, it wasn't for me, and I'll move on. But if I like something a lot, I'll say, wow, this is amazing. I think I had a great experience. If you want to have a good experience, you should watch it too. We'll compare notes. Hopefully you believe what I tell you. And if you don't, that's fine. Then we have two different points of view. Then you can move on, I can move on, and we'll go on from there. But like I was saying before, I don't want to get too wrapped up into it, but there's a lot of amazing content going on. I'm amazed at what YouTube is being able to work with. Before, the people were saying, oh, YouTube used to be about the content provider. It's not about that. It's changing. But everything evolves. YouTube's going to evolve. It's based at where they're saying, oh, we're going to start we have YouTube, which is free, and then we have YouTube Red, where you have to subscribe. I think it's a great idea, because it would have been terrible if like they did like Hulu. It used to be free, and then all of a sudden, no, now you got to pay for it if you want to see content, and you're still going to see commercials. But having two different things where they have advertisement-based shows with YouTube, and then all of a sudden they go, hey, we also will provide you YouTube Red. One is paid for and one is not. One is free and the other one you have to pay for. It's a brilliant idea, because it's sort of like you feed your public, and the more you feed them, the more they want more of what you're giving them, and then they're going to jump on board and say, yes, I'm willing to pay. And paying a few dollars to see content, good content like Cobra Kai or anything else they have on YouTube is amazing. I am shocked that Netflix didn't jump on this Cobra Kai show. This would have been great for them. From the other shows that they've had on and it hasn't succeeded so much, I'm surprised that Netflix, I would have to say they really dropped the ball on this. Sort of like when they dropped the ball on getting Ash versus Evil Dead. That would have been a great thing to have on Netflix instead of having it on Starz, because Starz, like they say, is one of those content providers that have overblown their budget. They have to pay so much money to the CEOs and the people who work and running this business that's become a behemoth, and now they have to, no matter what they throw at the behemoth to eat, it's just nothing more than a black hole. And they can never feed it enough. And people who have to buy it say, oh, I have to buy this streaming service, that streaming service, and the other one, I just can't afford it. There's just so much. It's sort of like people still have AOL accounts that they won't give up, because they're like, oh, I started with this, I'm not going to go to something else, because, I can't go to AOL Hotmail, Live, Microsoft, Gmail. It's just too much. I'm just staying with what I have until it doesn't exist anymore. And I'm surprised, and that's the way it is. There's just so many people aren't ready to be dragged into following you along to whatever new endeavor you came up with. And also, like the amount of movies coming out this year, they keep saying that every year, or every 3 years, the technology advances so much. Not to give out too many spoilers about the Avengers here, but it was amazing, the amount of CGI and the amount of things waiting in the horizon. And I was telling Frank before in one of the shows that I would love it if even in the Guardian of the Galaxy, the two most favorite characters in Guardian of the Galaxy are the raccoon and Groot, which is sort of like a tree. And I was telling him I would love it if they had a gorilla character like Gorilla Grodd, but Gorilla Grodd is a bad character who's on the Flash. But I'm saying it would be amazing to have like a gorilla character on Guardian of the Galaxy. I guess you can make him blue, green, but if you make him a regular gorilla, that would be great too. If you made him a super intelligent life form, that'd be great. Sort of like they do with what do you call that? Chewbacca, which isn't a gorilla, but looks sort of like a teddy bear or something. But like I say, CGI is improving. They say alone to do Infinity Wars, it took them 10 years to work on the script. And it's true. It usually takes about 10 years to come up with a good script. Even when you come up with a good book, it takes you that long. You just don't write a book overnight that says, oh, this is great, this is wonderful, put it out there, and everybody's going to jump along and say, yeah, I want to see that too. It's not always the case. People, after you dedicated so much time, you get so much rejection, it goes back and forth. And over the course of 10 years, it took you 10 years to do. That's why everyone's clamoring, oh, why can't I see, well, why does it take so long to see a sequel? Well, that's why it takes so long. Sometimes they weren't ready to have the sequel. And when they finally have the sequel, it's probably 10 years later, like they did with Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2. Sometimes it takes them a while to figure out, whoa, was this popular? Did people really want to see this? Before, I was telling Frank, some of the movies I would have wanted to see to have them do continuation sequels would have been Blade Runner, Unbreakable, and what else was I saying? And some of these films, some of these cult classic films, they always say, wow, I wonder how it would have been to see a continuation of this. Even in Star Wars, I was saying that I was more privy to Rogue One, because Rogue One was more or less about Darth Vader and the Skywalker story, and how I would love to continue the Skywalker story. I'm not sure if Solo, a Star Wars story, will continue the Skywalker story, but it would be great to see them somewhat put forth the Skywalker story. But right now, I think it's more or less the Han Solo story, or it's sort of seeing how or what made him become the person he is. And I think for a few of us, it might be interesting. I questioned it a little. I was like, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I know Han Solo is already a popular character, but did anyone really want to see how he became Han Solo? He became a smuggler. And like most smugglers, they become smugglers because they either want to make money and when they want to survive. Here, from what I've seen of the previews, that they spoiling a little, they make Han Solo come off like he dropped out of the academy. That doesn't make any sense. If anything, to be a good pilot, you would have to be a good pilot in the academy, be part of the what do you call it, the order of Darth Vader or something, or work with him, and